Hello and welcome to the video for Wednesday, Tuesday. Don't tell me, don't tell me. It's got to be Tuesday. I'm sure right now it's Tuesday. Okay. Mobile app design week 16, Tuesday. Okay. So let's jump over here into Dreamweaver. And the file that you're going to open today is going to be my app 5. And you're going to do the same thing, download the folder from the website, uh, decompress it, extract it, go into Dreamweaver and set up a new site, site new, point to it, and call it my app 5, and then find the folder, hit save, and then you'll be good to go. Excuse me. Now, I've made a couple of little minor changes here you don't have to worry yourself about, but I'll tell you what they are. Um, First of all, this button here used to say compositions, and my reasoning for doing that was I was thinking that there would be music, but there would be sound effects and all kinds of things that weren't music. But really, virtually everything in there is going to be uh, musical. So, and compositions is such a weighty, heavy word. Like it was the longest word, and it just seems sort of awkward. So I decided to change that to music. Now, when I changed that to music, I changed this icon as well down here to a little musical speaker. And also, this used to be a sword, and we had this little guy over here, the helmet, that gave me so much trouble that I ended up squishing, making it look like Batman or a cat or something like that. So that looked a little comical. So I nuked that and moved the sword over here because it makes a little more sense. Campaigns, fighting, and there's the sword. So that feels really good. I still will probably consider changing this just because this is a very modern day icon, and all of these they sort of feel like they could be older, like in medieval times, but this one is definitely modern. So it's a bit of a red herring, stands out from the rest of them. So if I could replace this with something like a picture of a lute, an old sort of guitar type of instrument they used during the Middle Ages, or anything else, that would work. I've tried different music notes and things like that, and I might just end up going with a single music note as well. But for now, we'll just leave that. Now, so in addition to changing this button to music and this, moving these icons around, creating that new icon, I had to relink everything. So where it said compositions here, I changed it to music. Same with this. Uh, and then I also had to go up here to this drop-down menu and change it to music as well. So those I relinked all those. And this one I didn't. I didn't even relink this. I just changed the image. So this one's still linking to campaigns, but I just changed the image from one to the other. And by the way, I the way that I got this new icon in here, and actually this one as well, is I went into XD and I just I clicked on my row of buttons here and made sure that I there was a button over here that said undo or uncollect grid. I forget the exact phrasing, but it takes the grid of buttons and separates them into individuals. And I just wrote some new text here, music, and then I had this icon over here already, so I actually just selected both of those and then just did file export selected, and then I made sure to pick iOS, and I exported them into just a weird little folder that I made specifically for this purpose. Now the reason I did this was because it makes all three files that I need. The 1x, the 2x, and the 3x. And of course, it gave them these really long, stupid names, like, or this one at least, the button enabled blank 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 something something contained blah blah blah, boring, stupid names. So what I did was I just went in there and I renamed them for a couple reasons. One, if you ever have to mess with the code like we had to do last week when we had to type in the 2x and the 3x version of each image name, it's just a pain to have a super long name like that. So what you can do in the future, when you export your images, you can either go into XD and see if you can rename them in there before you export them, or after you export them, just go in and give them really simple, easy names so that they're easier to deal with, right? Now, the other thing was this speaker here exported as black because it's black in here. And I suppose I could have just quickly changed it over here, but I didn't really think about that. I just exported it. So then all I did was I opened each of the speakers in Photoshop. You can see over here that's the black speaker, but then I just did a color overlay effect on it and made it white. And I did that for all three of the speaker images. And then I just saved them over the originals. Let me go back to, I think it's XD where we were looking at it. Yeah. Um, so I end up with three music buttons, the 1X, 2X, 3X, three speaker buttons, and these are white. And I just went in and saved them into the, I copied them, and then I went and saved them into my app 5 folder in the images folder. So my app 5, my app, www images. So I just saved them in there, and then I was able to go into my code and just update this so that whatever the hell was there now it's going to speaker.ping, and then I have my 1x, my 2x, my 3x version. Same with this. Notice that all the other buttons up here are named with these redonkulous names, which I really need to go in there and change them. But this crazy name here, buttons, all the spaces in a dash, contained, enabled, -4. That's the stupidest name that ever existed, right? Whereas this one right here, music, boom, and you're done. So yeah, I would highly recommend renaming your images. The earlier the better. If you can rename them in XD before you export them, that's even better. But if not, you can go into the folder and rename them before you start doing all your coding and everything, so you don't have to type out a bunch of extra code or a bunch of extra text or copy and paste a bunch of extra text. Okay, so we got that. So and despite the fact that I plan to change this icon again, you just have to keep moving forward because little changes can occur all throughout your design process, which is not unusual. In fact, it's very common, and it's how things get better. Um, so anyway, we are working on the wildcore2.html file right now. And what I'll do is go ahead and move on to the next aspect of design here, which is now that we've got this page, completely done, we can start looking at creating a second page, that we would go to. And of course, the thing that makes the most sense is this one here called world, right? Now, how are we going to do this? Well, virtually everything except this content in the middle is going to be the same, right? And what's going to happen is if we go up here to the top of the page, after we have all our style sheet and everything like that, let's see. We got to look a couple of how you make each page have a different background. Okay. Boom. Yeah, here we go. Down here around line 69, you can see that this thing says data role equals page, and the div ID is called home. So this is this home page here. Now, if we click on the beginning, the start tag of that, and scroll down, you're going to see that the end tag here is way down here. It's basically just right before the JavaScript, right? So that whole thing is this, this takes up basically the entire page, right? So what we could do is, if we start up here at 69 here, let's see, I got to get my, what a pain. So I want to, oh, that's such a drag. You're trying to click right in there. Okay. So I've got my cursor right there, right before the div. And then I come all the way down here. I'm trying to hold my shift key down and select right after that. So I get all of that stuff, right? From that first div, beginning div tag, all the way to the end div tag, right? Now, let's click after this. Let's make a couple spaces just so we have some space there. We'll make a couple more spaces to move the script down a little bit. And then let's just paste this whole thing. Oops. Wow, it clearly didn't take my, it didn't copy what I wanted it to copy. So we'll try one more time. Let's see, going up here to here. This time we'll use the copy command in Dreamweaver because it laughed at me when I tried to copy it. Okay, let's try again. Paste. Oh, thank God it did it. Okay. Now, the first thing you want to do is change the ID to music. Okay. So now this page has all the same attributes as the other one in that it's got mainly what we're talking about is the top header bar and the footer bar, and then it's got all this content in here that we really don't need. In fact, we're going to replace it all with our new content. Now, so what you have to do is figure out where that content starts. And so, of course, it's not going to be this stuff in the header. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see it starts right here. There's a div called content, right? And believe it or not, all this junk right in here is all of that content right there. So what that means is if we were to delete all the stuff between these div tags, we should end up with a big bunch of nothingness. Let's see. Delete. Okay. So basically, so it says div content. Okay. So let me just type the word content in here. All right. Now, what's interesting about this is, what it's revealing to us is the home page here, so we don't really see any changes that happen, right? Let's see. Oh, let me go back. So I clicked on music and I got to content here. So is that I think that's my error. I think what I did was let me go back up a little bit. So that's home. Yeah, this is my problem. I told you guys I was going to do world because that made sense, and then I just went ahead and typed music. So apologies there. So anyway, but then I clicked on music because I knew I had done that. So my bad. Let me change this back to world so it makes sense. World. Okay. And then here, let's see. Let's go back to, okay, we're back to home, right? So now, if we click on world, yeah, now we go to what it does is it basically slides us down the page to here, right? There, this is our world page, right? And there's our content. Now, it might be hard for you to see this in all your code, and trust me, you're going to end up with a very tall page with a bunch of code on it. So it might be hard for you to find this. So you could do something like type, world page here, and then you could highlight this, and let's see if we can. It wasn't being very nice to me earlier when I tried to do this. Let's see if it does it now. No, it's not doing it. It's so weird. I was hoping that it would let me comment this out, but right when it's in the middle of the code, it's just not letting me do it. Oh, there we go. If you use what's called the HTML comment, it'll get rid of it, right? So anyway, if you do something like, put a bunch of space in here and maybe do something like type world page or something like that, or even just world, it will help you see it when you're scrolling through this ton of code. You can see, oh, look, there's the world page, right? And you could even go down here and type end world page, or actually probably makes more sense just to name the new page that comes underneath it. Okay, so now we have our world page, and which is easy to find because it's right here. And we have our content, which is easy to find because there's a big space right here, and it says the word content in white. So now we have to replace this with our content. Now keep in mind that this has the same sunset background because right here, we're individually making a new background for every single page, right? And this is just for those of you who have that in your app, right? If I know that Aaron has the same background for every single page except for the home page. So what Aaron could do is have the background. Let's see, where did I put that background? La, 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 la. Oh, here it is. So Aaron could have the same background on every single page. In other words, he could have his background just right here, which would put this background on every single page. And then only on the home page, he could change it right here in this beginning div tag. He could change it to the one background that's different, and then he wouldn't even have to have the code in all the other pages. He could just pull all this code, this inline style code, out of his headers, um, because that code up at the top would throw the sunset background into every single page, and then just on the first page he'd change it to something different. Now, those of you that have something different on every page, you basically have to comment this out. Once again, you highlight that whole thing, and I believe it's this comment right here. Yes, it is. And then you put in the different page background on each one, right? Right now, I'm doing something that's kind of silly. I've got double the code. I've got it repeating, and then I've got it repeat. I've got it. This is putting it on the back of every page, and then I'm also individually bringing it in on every page. So what I'll do, at the end of this process is probably just cut out these individual little things here. This thing that says style. Let's see. I think it goes all the way from here to here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah. So basically I can take that out, and it's probably a good idea to take it out now. You definitely don't want to have extra code floating around. It slows things down and it can muck up the works. So for my purposes, I'm good. I've got all that stuff. For you guys, if you need that code, you can go back to an earlier version like my app 4, and you'll have that code in there. Okay, so now we're all about making the content for this page. Now we can go back to XD, and at this point, we're going to do the music page because that's what I did instead of the world, which is what I was supposed to do. Wait, what did I do? Did I change that? Oh yeah, we're going to do the world page because first I did the music page, and then I said, "Oops," and now I'm going to do the world page. Okay. So what do I have to do? Well, first of all, I have to get rid of anything that I don't need. So there's this crazy, I don't know what, is this locked, or I don't know what this is. Why is it? Um, oh yeah, there's a lock here. How do I unlock this thing? Okay, like that. All right. All right. So now I gotta remember how to get rid of this stupid lock. Let's see. If I click on this, uh, unlock. There we go. All right. This thing does me no favors. Adios. I don't need these guys. This little guy here is what I'm trying to get. I don't know why, but it's got my whole background here. I actually don't need that background because I've got the background on all the pages already. You guys will have to forgive what a mess this is turning out to be on my little file here, but it's just so I can get to what I need, right? Let's see, this one here, I just want to get that one off the page. Okay, and then I don't need any of this junk. I don't know why it's being such a pain in my booty. In fact, I'm just tired of dealing with it, so I'm just gonna just delete it because who cares? I mean, I've already got it. You know what I mean? Um, okay, so that makes it so that the only things I'm gonna have on this particular page are these little headers um, and the pictures, right? So uh, let me zoom in here a little bit so I can get a closer look. Okay, and I can see that there's some things that I'm not crazy about, like the fact that um, there's this space right here. That little white space is still there, I think. Okay, great. And then I'm gonna have to pull these guys up as well. Let's see. That, and then this thing. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So I'm assuming it's gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images, right? Now, let's look into uh, if there's any way we can rename these in here. So let's see, assets, all assets. If I open that, well, let's see, if I click on something over here, does it highlight it over there? No, it does not. Why not?
let's see. Buttons contained enabled. All right.
Okay, forgive me if my screen just changed a little bit, but I paused the recorder for a second to look into ways that you could rename these files in XD, and I found a really simple way to do it. In XD, so we'll click here, you can go to plugins and you can go to discover plugins, and you can search for plugins in here that you can add to XD. And so what I did was I looked out on the internet and I found that there's a plugin called Rename It, which is this one right here. And when you find it, it's going to have the little word install down here, and you click on that and it will install it in XD. And I've already done that, so it's already installed. Now, after you've done that, when you click on plugins, Rename It will be one of the options for you, right? And what you can do is, since you're just going to be exporting specific files from a page, you can go into each file and rename it right here before you export it. So for example, I clicked on this little banner here that says world. I went plugins, rename it, rename selected layers, and I just typed in there world, right? And clicked rename. Now, I'm not going to do it because I already did it. Some of these other banners, I just call this FF because it's a really short name and I want to deal with short names. If I wanted to, I could have typed frightful underscore forest, right? And then this one I just named MM. This one I named mountains, and this one I named forest. Okay, and then after I renamed each of them with a plugin, I simply dragged my cursor around all of them, and then did the file export selected. I went into my little holding folder here. I made sure I clicked iOS. This is just a folder I made to save stuff in before I take it over to the images folder. And I just saved it in my AA stuff folder and with iOS clicked, and you can see it's already saved it for me. See forest ping, forest2x.ping, and so on, ff ping, right? So it did all that. So you just hit export and you're done, right? So now what that will allow me to do is to simply go find that folder on my desktop. So let's see, it's going to be desktop and then that AAA stuff, and then just grab all the files that I want. So I know I want all the way through here, all that stuff. And then it also made this weird thing called rectangle, which I don't know what that is. It's probably an image behind all these other ones, but I'm not even going to deal with it because I don't need it. Now this one called world. Uh, I know I have a world button, but that has some bizarre name to it, so it's not called world. So I've got my world banner, I've got my mountains picture, I've got my MM, which is this banner, I've got my forest picture, which is this, and then I have my FF, which is this frightful forest banner, right? So I can copy all of that, and then I can go into my my app 5 folder, go into images, and just paste everything in here like so, right? So now all that junk is in here somewhere. You can see mountains, right? And I kind of screwed up here in that this is all caps, and I should have kept it, should have done it all lowercase. I wonder if forest looks that way too. Nope. In fact, I might as well just change it here. You want to be consistent about everything. Um, and in web design, we generally use lowercase. So I'll go in here and just rename all these. And of course, that's so you don't mess up when you're linking to something. If you put all capital letters and it's spelled all lowercase, it's not going to find it usually. So just a quick look here. Everything else just looks lowercase, so that's good. All right, so now I can go back into Dreamweaver. Once again, I'm here with my empty content area, and I can start dropping images in there. So, and putting divs in and stuff. So, okay, so let's see what we've got. So, um, if we wanted to go back to the home page, which we could get to, it's a shame this thing is kind of covering my home page. I click on this little home icon, it'll take me back to the home page. If I click on world, I can see that um, there's a div surrounding this world. Um, and well, actually, when I clicked on that, it took me to this page, which is kind of funny. Um, but you can see that there's a div that surrounds the image and makes it a link, right? Now, my image is not necessarily going to be a link, so it's not going to, my when I'm talking about the banner that's going to go at the top that's going to say world, it's not necessarily going to need this a tag to link to anywhere, but we probably want to put the div tag in there so that it, forms its own little section, right? And then the next section will appear underneath it, right? So once again, we can go down here to our new page, the world page, and we can find that section called content. It's here. And then we can create a new div. So I'll just get rid of this thing that says content. I'll create a div, and then there's a flashing cursor in there for me to drop some content in. So now what I'll do is I'll say insert image. I'll go into my images folder, and I'll find that little world banner, which is this right here. There it is. And I'll hit open. Okay, and there it is up at the top, right? Now, if I want to, I can copy this whole div and basically paste it underneath this as many times as I'm going to have images. So I know I've got that, and then I've got, let's see, the forest is 1, and then the name of the forest is 2, and then the mountains is 3, and then the name of the mountains is 4. So in other words, if I pasted this in 4 more times, of course, it's just going to show the world button all those times right now, but then I can just replace each one of these with a new image. So I can just delete all these guys here. Okay, so then we go to the div right under the world. We go insert image. And of course, we're going to have, I guess, the forest. It's going to go in there. And then you can see that there's a little space between them. We can take care of that in a second. And then next we can say insert image. Let's see. So then Frightful Forest, the name of it is FF. Okay, and then after that, let's see, we have the mountains, which I've renamed lowercase. And then after that, we have the MM, which is the mountains text. MM, where's that? Right there. Okay, great. And this is all the content I have so far for this page. In XD, I just was kind of mocking it up, but there's more content to be had for this page, and so I would just put it down here, and it would basically scroll down to show the content, right? But so essentially that's my content. Now, the next thing we have to look at is bringing these divs together, right? Um, so it looks like it's automatically putting a certain amount of space between each div. And what I can do is I can reduce that amount of space via a style. And what I want to do is I want to use my margin top style and put in a negative number so that the top of each image goes negative. In other words, goes up. If you put in a positive number, it pushes it down, and a negative number will push it up, right? So as usual, I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to name my style, and then I'm going to go up and make the style. So what I'll do is, once again, I'm going to use a class, and I don't have to do anything on that world because that's up there already. So the first place I would do it would be down here on this forest image, right? So I'll say class equals, and I'll say move. I'll just call this one move up. Um, that's what I'm going to call my style that I'm going to make. And I'm going to go up here to the top. I always like to put new styles up here at the very top. Let's see, that's the hamburger menu, so I'll leave that code going with that. So I'm going to put a class, and it's going to be called move up, and then some curly braces. Of course, it always moves it in, which is just annoying. I guess we could leave them all in the middle, and then we wouldn't have to tab them over, but that's the way I'm used to doing things, so that's why I do it. So now I'm going to say, let's see, margin uh, dash top, and I'll just say negative 1 EM semicolon. Oh, look at that. It did it right away because I had already put it down there on the name for that, right? Now you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but it's kind of overlapping that, so that's too much, right? So let's see, negative zero point 0.5 EM. That's not quite enough, so let's 0.7.
Okay, so I'm looking at this. It's and there's a couple things I see. Like one thing I notice is I kind of screwed up here. Like my box up here is like wider than this box or something bizarre, so it's not going to look perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It's so weird. 6 is not right, and 7 is too much, and then you can see a little space between them. Okay, so of all bizarre things, negative 0.65 EM seems to be the thing that worked in that space there. But as I said, you can see that this sticks out a little bit over here, and then it moves over a little bit here. It's weird. It's like it looks like I didn't do a very good job. I probably just threw those images in there and didn't spend a lot of time cleaning them up and making them the exact right size. And unfortunately, that's something you can learn in this process. It also looks like some of these spacings might be different,
So, which is kind of a bummer because that means I can't use the same move up class with each one. But let me try. Let me give it a shot. So we moved the forest up. So now we got to move the FF up, the frightful forest. We can click on that, and then we can grab this class move up. You know, I might have to do move up 2 or move up 3. You know, in that case, you might as well just go ahead and add your styles individually to here. Uh, you know, as inline styles instead of just making a bunch of different classes. But whatever, let's just see what happens. So we're gonna just add this to each one, and we're gonna see what the result is. Okay, and everything
moves up, and as I was afraid, all of the spacing is different, which is pretty bizarre. I don't even know why that occurred, but as I said, everything is. Let's see, we're having everything aligned center. It could just be. It could be that I'm messing up here, and that XD is perfectly fine, because everything looks a little. It looks like it might be the same size, but it's just not lining up the way that it should. So let's go back and look at XD and see what we can see. Yeah, because when you look at it XD, everything looks kind of a little bit spiffy here, like it's all together. So um,
it's an interesting problem to deal with. Now, one solution that I could possibly do, I could wrap a div around everything and then give it a fixed width, and maybe that would make everything kind of come together, hold together, almost like building a box around everything. So there's some different options I have. But let me come back to that in just a second. Another thing that we remember we have to do is we have to add the source set to each of these images so that it can bring in the different size images for different phone resolutions, right? And fortunately, we've renamed these files, so it's going to be really easy to do that. So if you recall the source set, we can find the source set tag pretty easily. There's going to be, you know, a bunch of them up here. Let's find one that's really easy. So like I know that, let's see, there's one of these down here that's called like icon or something like that. Oh, here's speaker. This one here. Yeah, source set. So I'm just going to go down here and grab a source set code, copy it, and then I'm going to come back up here, click on this world button. Okay. And so after source, I'm going to click in here, make a space, put in the source set. Right now it's replacing it with, you know, total weirdness because of what I copied. But so what I can do is the first one here is going to be world ping. Um, the second one is going to be world at 2x. and the third one is going to be world at 3x, with of course the um, images slash forward in front of it, and then the space, and then the 2x, and then the 3x and stuff. Okay, so that very quickly and easily uh, created my source set for that image. For this one, I'm going to do the same thing. Make a space. Make sure you make a space between the end of this and the next piece of code. So let's see. This one is called, and you can look over here what it's called. So the first one's called forest. And in fact, if I want to make my life easy, which I always do, I can highlight forest, and I can just replace the word in front of the 2x and the word in front of the 3x. To see how much nicer this is than having to cut and paste those ridiculously big names, right? Okay, so then I've got to go down here, and right before this class tag, I got to paste this in and hit, oops, that was my problem. So by copying forest, I lost my copy of this whole source set tag. So I'm going to have to go ahead and recopy this source set. So what would make sense is to paste this in everywhere and then go ahead and copy individual words. And I'll show you what I mean. So I think we still have to do this one right here, right? Yeah, so what I'll do is, we have to do 3 more, this, and this. So what I'll do is I'll paste that code in here, and then a space, right? And then I'll paste it in here, and then hit my space bar to make a little space right there. And then I'll paste it in here, Command V, and then the space bar. Okay, so now I've got that code um, pasted in 3 places, right? Which means now I can copy and paste things. And now notice that it put the world in here again, because that's, because I'm pasting this world code in there. So anyway, what we have is we have the world image, we have the frightful forest, and then this one here should be FF. And so I'm going to copy the FF, and I'm just simply going to go in here and paste the FF everywhere where it says world. And sometimes it's hard to keep track of what you're doing, but you just have to, you get better at this the more you do it, right? The next one is called mountains, so I can highlight the word mountains. Oh shoot, sorry. Uh, Command C, I hit Command V instead. And then I'm gonna go wherever there's world, and I'm gonna paste, so you want to leave things like the at 2x and the at 3x there. And then the last one is gonna be MM, which is this right here. Once again, I hit V instead of C, Command C, so it pasted a bunch of stuff in there. So then we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, like so. Okay, and then when we click over here, it updates everything. So now we see world, and then the forest, frightful forests, and then mortal mountains, right? Okay, so now one thing I want to double check, I just want to look in my folder that has all my images in it. So, while executing onload, a JavaScript error occurred. Okay, that's fine. Now I get a little paranoid about things messing up, so I try to save on a regular basis. Okay, so I've saved that, and then look, it seems like uh, this is the error. It says, oh, the ID value my links must be unique. Okay, so this is a problem. It's because we copied this JavaScript, or I'm sorry, remember we had the home page, right? And we copied it and we put it in here and made a whole new page from it. But what it's saying is, hey, every time you call JavaScript, uh, you have to go ahead and call a brand new section here, right? In other words, you can't call my links from the home page and then also call my links from this world page as well. So the solution to that would be to name this my links 2. But if we did that, then that would mean that we would have to, let's see, there's a button up here. Let's see, this doesn't say my links in it, but the JavaScript does. Um, yeah, it says my function. And then if we go down here to the JavaScript, let's see, where does it say my links? Here. See this whole script here? It says my links in here. It's using all this script to go ahead and pull that function. It's called my function. So we'd have to call this my function 2, and we'd have to call this my links 2. We'd have to, make a copy of this, and then we'd also have to rename everything up here. So, but I don't know. I don't know. It's throwing an error, and of course we don't want errors. But I don't know if it's going to stop it from working. It may well stop it from working. In fact, we should be able to tell here if we click on this. Yeah, see, it's erroring out. If we go back to the home page and we click on it, it works. So, click it again to close it. Okay, so that tells me that we are unfortunately going to have to. Let's see. Well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, we could probably solve this problem by not copying the header and the footer over and over again into all the pages. We might be able to get away with just having the header at the top of all the pages listed here and the footer at the bottom of all the pages listed there, and then just put the different content in and see if we can get that to work. So I'm gonna have to play around with that and see if I can get that to work for us. So right now, don't sweat it that we have that little error. What it means, unfortunately, is that this little thing isn't going to work on this page. But like I said, I'll look into that and I'll get that fixed up. Okay.